Um, yeah, so it has to be like a 20-minute consultation. But yeah, thanks again for meeting with me. So I kind of just wanted to talk about how you think yesterday went with Oscar. Just like compared to how that
Like
is.
a regular day?
Yeah, like what does that look like? Is that his regular type of day, or was that one of the better days, or?
That's been his regular day for
Okay.
a while now,
Okay.
unfortunately. So, like I know I told you before, some days he's off, like completely off, like he just puts his head down and doesn't do anything, or he messes around and somewhat participates, but only if I hold him accountable to it. If I
Yeah.
don't, or Mrs. So doesn't like do anything, he will just mess around the whole period.
Okay. And then that happens with the group that he normally sits at?
Correct.
Okay. So some things that I saw, like basically all the things that you've been telling us, where he's like slow to get out his work and just kind of like staring. But I did notice that when he was in the front group with you guys, he did seem more, like I guess engaged, especially when you were like talking to him and making him answer questions, but also too when the people around him, like his friends, were answering questions. Like I kind of noticed that if you would call on one of the friends, then he would like pay attention and want to like jump in a little bit. So maybe that could be like a strategy to, because I feel like part of it is the peer attention, but when you're like reinforcing the other students around him, he seems like he kind of wants to be in on it. I don't know if that's kind of how you feel about it too.
Oh, no, that's what I noticed too.
Okay.
Like, he seems to want to understand what's
Yeah.
going on, even though he doesn't try to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, he is like, if I say something, he's like, no.
Right.
But if the other kids say something, he's a little bit more like, oh, okay, maybe
Exactly,
I can
yeah.
listen to them.
Right. Which is what I kind of noticed, because when it was on him, that was when it was like he started like goofing around more and like pretending like he didn't know what you were talking about, even though he did. But yeah, so maybe just like reinforcing the students around him more, and then seeing if that like helps increase him a little bit. I don't know. What do you feel about?
So we've tried that. So that's why
Okay.
he was at the other table. So the other
Okay.
table, the students are pretty self motivated, but
Yeah.
they're also very good at explaining.
I've noticed because I was sitting next to them.
And they tried so hard with him, and it turned out that the kids were trying so hard that their grades were hurting. So we had to be like, nope, this isn't working because it's not fair to the other kids.
Yeah.
That like literally, she's standing next to him. She's like, Oscar, did you write this down? And he's like, well, I don't know how to do any of it. And she's like, well, just write it down and then I'll explain it to you. And, she was very thorough. Like, she's not.
His partner or the other
his
teacher?
partner
Okay.
is very thorough. But even the table around him, like anybody there, will try to make him feel happy. So, like, for example, the other day, Oscar had a really bad day. And so that table was trying to make him laugh to kind of get him upbeat so that he'll do his work. So they, like, put all their hoods on. So everybody on the table had their hoods over their heads, tied around their faces, and looking at him, And I didn't say anything. Miss Inso didn't say anything for a while, until the point where it was like Oscar wasn't getting any work done. I said, okay, guys, can you take your hoods off? And later on, Miss Inso was the one who told me that they were doing that to help Oscar feel better. And I said, well, it clearly wasn't working. So I made them stop because they weren't doing their work as a group. So we've tried several things with Oscar. We've tried the small group. We've tried the peer mentors. And it seems like there's no actual pattern from what I've observed. It's just his mood from day in to day out. Like, he used to really excel in small group, or when we split classrooms, like we'd like go into separate rooms, and he would do really well. But then suddenly he just stopped, and like I said, we don't know what we get from Oscar, because he can have a bad day and still perform really well. But he could also have a good day and perform really poorly. So there's not like a.
So what does the bad day look like when he still does well?
Yesterday was like a bad day, but still kind of like engaged.
Okay.
Versus completely disengaged, head down. I'm not going to even try. If I come over and tell him to write something down, he'll write it down for like a little bit.
Yeah.
And then if I don't follow through and check in him, he's just going to be like, whatever. And puts his head down.
Yeah. So do you guys normally, because I like how the structure was where you were with one group, is that like how it normally happens? Like, or is that like every class when you guys are like learning something new?
It depends. So because it's co-teaching and Miss Inso, there's new curriculum. So there's a lot of stuff in this unit, or the geometry piece that I don't know. So we actually do whole group learning, like team teaching together. And then after like it's been introduced together, then we pull the small groups, because then I see what Miss Enzo like is, where the curriculum's headed, what she's trying to emphasize, so that I can watch it, so that when I do the small group interaction, I can do that. And Sinzo and I switch between small and big.
Okay, so like yesterday you were doing the small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yesterday I was supposed to switch with her. We like to switch interchangeably, but I didn't leave because it felt like I was getting somewhere, and I feel like if I leave for just a second and Sinzo switches in, they're gonna be like, all crazy.
No.
So I was like, okay, because usually we're supposed to swap, or we try to in between the lesson. Like I'll do one problem, and then I'll see Sinzo over there, and I'll swap with Sinzo, so that the kids kind of get both interactions between the both of us.
Yeah, I see that. I feel like because I'm doing like small groups for a grant that I'm on, and so we do that. And one thing that they did recommend to us was for one person to teach that lesson, just so it's like kind of consistent with the style. So since you said like they were getting it while you were teaching it, like I think maybe that like type of like structure would help them, like just for that lesson, or like maybe if you guys like switched to something else then switching. But I feel like Oscar did benefit from that. I don't know, I mean, I feel like at least when you like asked him all the problems, like you went through each step the same way, so he was able to grasp that. But I was wondering if, like, I know you went through each steps, like you're like first write out all the different theorems and then you do your chart. Like, did they already take notes on every single step? Okay, so does he like have those notes out with him while he's doing it?
So he was absent for a lot of it, and then I'm pretty sure the stuff he writes he can't read.
Right.
So there's no point. I mean, we give him the other notes if he needs them, but it's not even about the notes. Oscar could do it, he just doesn't want to. Like you saw the like the examples that he would say, like was like, I don't know how to do this, miss. Like I don't get it. I don't know how to do it. And it's like, did I ask you to do it by yourself? Did I ask you? And then when I point these things out for him, he realizes after the third time that Miss Lamro just wants me to answer her question. She doesn't expect me to do all of these problems. I just have one question for him, and I think once he gets over that hump of realizing that Miss Lamro does not expect you to do all these things right now, I just need you to answer one part. Yeah. And once I get him through one part, because if I can get him through every single part, he's fine.
Yeah. So maybe it's like part of it is he thinks like there's so much to do and he doesn't realize how simple it could be broken up.
So it's like his own like enemy. He just decides I'm not gonna do it. So I don't get it.
So maybe like taking like the growth mindset approach. Like, well, if you did the first step, so now that you've done the first one, you could do the second one. So maybe like I know you already break things up like really well for them. But maybe kind of just encouraging him through every step. Like, I know that's difficult, like, throughout to do with, like, the whole class. But, or maybe if he has, like, a partner. Like, I don't know if he has, like, one specific partner, or if it's just kind of, like, the group.
It varies. It depends on where we are in the lesson.
Like, what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, we try to pair him with someone he can work well with. So, or someone that will, like, actually teach him. But the thing is, people run out of patience faster. All the students do, I do, because it's like I can prompt him some days, and he's not going to do anything. I mean, it's to the point where I already talked to him. I had a conversation with him, and he had another buddy that sits on the other side, Gerardo, who I told, I talk to them all the time, and Gerardo knows that Miss Enso and I are here to like support them and to give them every opportunity to succeed. So that means coming in, doing retakes, coming in, doing this stuff. We will even accommodate him so far to the point where we didn't even grade like the backside of his benchmark because he wasn't here. We just omitted that grade, scaled up, and gave him the points. So they're well aware that we're here to support him. There's no way he should fail because of all the significant amount of support that we are giving him. And so I made a comment with him, and I said, like privately after school, but Gerardo was there, which is fine because they're buddies, And I said, look, like, I'm here. I'm bugging you every day. Like, literally, I bug him every day. And it's like 4 or 5 times a prompt a day, minimum. And I know it's way more than that. And I said, I'm getting tired. We have how many weeks left of school? I go, I know you're tired. but understand that I'm not going to keep chasing you the rest of the semester. So you either choose to figure it out and do what you need to do, or I'm just going to leave you alone. Because at this point, we only have like maybe 8 weeks left of school. And I'm like, I can't help you. Like, if you're choosing to I'll prompt you. That's it. You get 2 prompts, 3 prompts a day. I'm done. After that, you have to figure it out. There's too many other kids in here who are willing to try and really need the support to pass because they really want to pass. And you're not taking advantage of it. So I don't know
what
if
did
you
he
heard.
say?
He said he'll come to tutoring.
Okay.
So he did, and he did. And so I have to remind him each day. So like even when he came into group, he was messing around. I said, Oscar, okay, you get to choose. You can be here, you can participate, and you can try, or you can sit here and put your head down and not talk to anybody, and distract the group. So you decide. And he was like, okay, you know. And then so I had to remind him a second time yesterday, and he said, and he got mad at me because I said, because hey, either you're gonna work right now, or you don't, because you're wasting my time. You're gonna go sit over there. And he was like, oh, so I'm wasting your time. I said, you know what? I don't mind if you waste my time if you're trying. But you're not. So you can either choose to be here. And then that's when he kind of kicked it into gear and realized that I was serious. And I was like, I'm done. Like, you're just distracting this whole group. And this whole group really struggles.
Yeah. Was that the one that was over there, or was that different during
tutoring? Small group. Like, the whole group. And it's like they struggle for different things, not necessarily that the work is so hard. I think they struggle to make sense of it. They have like their own barriers, like when they say it's too hard, they just kind of shut down. You know what I mean? So having that guided with them, and then also helps them feel like leaders in the group. Like they're like, oh, we get this, you know.
Right,
you heard like a lot of their comments. They were very much like, oh, I get this. And you know, they were very expressive about the fact that we get it in a group, we don't get it independently. And I said, okay, well then this is what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna show you one. That's why we did the whole group. But I want you guys to try the second one on your own. But the thing is, they need the monitoring. They need me to stand there and like do it. Cause like, for example, I don't know if you heard Gerardo. He sat there and he's like, Miss Amaro, do I have to be in this group? And I said, no, Gerardo, you're probably fine. But are you gonna do your work if you leave? And he was like, probably not. I'll stay here. And so it's not that he needed the group. He just needed someone to hold him accountable. That's exactly what that group is. They're not actually, none of those kids in that group are the lows.
Okay.
Including Oscar.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of wanting to do it and not allowing the other barriers or whatever experiences they've had prior to our class. So, I mean, I've tried the grouping. We've tried to make Oscar a leader. Like, we always call on him. We make sure that he gives his feedback. But it's like, it's so inconsistent in what he actually does, I guess, is the hardest thing to pinpoint what works for him. Because what does work for him is reteaching, but only if he wants to be retaught. So small group works for him. One-on-one works for him. But again, even one-on-one doesn't always work unless he wants it. So there were days when he first came back from having the flu, I worked with him one-on-one the entire period. And he picked it up like this, and he was fine. He took this quiz, no issues. Then the next day, if we would have tried one-on-one yesterday, it wouldn't have worked. It was just one of those things.
Yeah.
So it's hard to pinpoint what to do with him, other than, like I said, the prompting, the accountability, asking him questions that he knows that he can answer so that he can partially engage and then follow the rest of the kids. But
how do you feel like the positive reinforcement works with him? Like, do you think he is, do you think he, what's the word?
Craves it?
Yeah, or just
or responds to it?
Yeah, there we go. Like, do you think he responds well to it?
He does and he doesn't. So, like, there's days where like, Miss Enso and I are like, you're on fire, Oscar. You know, it's really good. And he knows it. But then I think there's some social emotional stuff going on with his family, obviously. And so I think that partakes in how he views reinforcement, because I think he hears us when he says it, but I don't think he believes it himself. It's one of those things.
Okay.
So he hears us and he knows that we said it, but I don't feel like he's convinced in his mind that I'm actually smart or that I get things.
Yeah. Or maybe like instead of reinforcing that, maybe more like the effort, like when he does put in effort, maybe that will make him feel better about at least trying, even if he doesn't get it right. I don't know. Or like I know Miss and so she was like, oh, we always start out with the positive reinforcement, and then if that doesn't work, then we'll like threaten to call mom or like to send him out, and then like sometimes that doesn't work. But do you feel like it usually has to get to the point where he's
The threatening?
Yeah.
Lately,
Okay.
yes. Only because nothing else has worked. Like, we've tried the positive reinforcement. We've tried, telling him, like, look, you wrote this down. Now, great. Can we try just one step? Like, we tell him very specifically what we want him to do so that he isn't overwhelmed. But it's just even that one step, he doesn't even want to do it unless we literally hold his hand through it.
Yeah.
And that class, sixth period, is extremely needy class. They are all
Yeah.
like that. So it makes it really difficult when the other ones are just as equally like him and we're still not supporting. I mean, Oscar gets an exuberant amount of support.
Yeah, I've noticed he gets a lot of attention in the class. I don't know, I feel like it was like half positive, half negative. Like I feel like especially when he did answer questions, there was like a lot of the positive reinforcement, which I think helped him, but also too, I felt like there was equally amount as like you need to pay attention or you need to get back on task. But one thing I kind of noticed was that the students that he was talking with, they were never like really called out on the talking behaviors as much as Oscar. So I don't know if maybe like I don't know, maybe like if he is talking, like maybe calling out someone else, like one of the friends instead, like saying like maybe that they're talking, or maybe like calling out positive behaviors for Oscar or for the friends. Like if Oscar is like initiating a conversation, like calling out the friend, like thank you for not talking, or thank you for putting in effort, like kind of switching it, because I feel like he is getting a lot of the negative attention, and which makes sense if he's the one who's like initiating it. But I think like compared to the other ones, he is getting called out a little bit more.
Okay.
And yeah, so
Because that's good to know.
Yeah.
For sure, because I didn't see that until you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so maybe just kind of like trying to increase the ratio of positive to negative, because that's what I was asking Eric about, and he said like a good ratio would be like 5 positives to 1 negative.
5 to 1.
Yeah. So I noticed it was kind of like half and half, but like he was off task a lot, so maybe like when he is like doing the slightest positive thing, like writing something down, or even like looking at the board, maybe like calling that out more, or calling out the friends too, just to, because I feel like he did feed off of that feed off of the friends. So maybe like if reinforcing them will help him want to be more engaged.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that could work. I mean, I didn't think of it like that. I could definitely do that. I mean, I think I do reinforce him, but maybe my ratios are off, because I told him, which is a possibility, because I know I have been a little bit more rough with him lately, only because he's just so like, I'm just like, dude, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I've tried everything. Like, I'm literally doing the work for you.
Yeah.
And you won't even try a little bit. And so I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
So my fuse is a little bit short with him at this point. And I'm watching it though too, because you're right, I have to watch the ratio with Oscar. But I mean, he knows, like, I give him reinforcement at the end of the period, at the beginning of the period, even when we're doing the assignment itself. Like, the minute he got it right, I was like, Oscar, see?
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah.
You just have to listen to my question. And then the minute he realized that, he was fine, you know? But like I said, it just takes a couple times for me to tell him for it to sink.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, and sometimes it's got to be like, I got to be like a jerk about it, and then it sinks.
Right.
Which is kind of sad, because, I mean, now that you're telling me this, like, I'm thinking about his mom, and, that's probably why he reacts that way, is because that's his learned behavior from his mother. I know that his mom gets really negative with him to do anything. So, but partly because it's that cycle of, the thing that, like, where he doesn't want to do it, he's not aware of it. So the only way he responds is for me to kind of be a jerk.
Right.
And then he realizes, okay, I need to get it together.
But I mean, at least at that point, he realizes that he's like, oh, she's upset because of this, and he changes his behavior. So
he does.
Yeah.
And he's not always aware of things, but when I point it out, he does apologize. Like he's a respectful kid. He just doesn't mean to be. And I think when he says stuff, like, he's not always aware of the things he does, so I have to explain to him, and then he'll be like, okay.
Yeah. Because it seemed like that's kind of how he reacts to everything, even when you had him, like, tell which lines were congruent and, like, going through everything. Like, it did seem like he ended up getting it, and, like, he knew that he was being disrespectful, but at the point where you were like, it's literally right there for you, and then he switched it. Then he's like, okay. Yeah.
And then he was fine. And then he was talking to the kids, okay, and the kids were like, it's this one. And they're like, he's like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so like at that point, it's like you really can't fake it anymore that you don't know. Like, exactly. It's so obvious.
It's one of those things with him, like I said, like, if I try the positive and if the positive doesn't work, I have to go to the negative. Right. And then he starts to get it together. But it can't be, like, overly negative. Yeah. Like, I have to be very kind of strategic about how I'm negative towards him because he hears certain parts. So, like, I know that he got really upset when I said, you're wasting my time. And he was like, well, sorry, miss, I'm wasting your time. And I said, no, you need to let me rephrase that, you know, like, I explained it to him. And after I said that, I think he understood that, okay, Miss Lamoureux's mad because I am wasting her time, but she doesn't mind that if I waste her time, if you're learning. Right. And so I think it's like things like that. It's like he knows it, but he doesn't know it. Like, it has to be reinforced constantly. Yeah. Or maybe just, like, said in different ways, too. Yes, before it, sinks into his brain, because he's a smart kid, so I don't know. Or maybe he has auditory processing issues. Who knows? We don't know. Which could be. I mean, like, if he's not sinking into what I'm saying and I have to say it, like, multiple times and he's not reading the correct words, I guess, that I'm saying. But the weird thing is that wasn't an issue when he was doing well. Yeah. Like, when it was, so I don't know if it's selective hearing or
maybe just, like, partly, like, mindfulness, like, he's not choosing to be engaged in it, maybe because of all the things going on at home. Yeah. So maybe, well, if the other group was too high for him and it didn't work, so maybe he didn't feel smart, so that's why he didn't try. Yeah, with the that could be part of it. And so if he's working, because he did at least try with this group, and I think he's aware that that group is around the same intellectual level that he is at, so maybe that is what makes it work. The only problem with that is that whole group has a hard time focusing. Yeah. So if Oscar's in that group, he's going to throw off the entire group from learning anything productive within the small group, because if I pulled Oscar out of that group would actually work very well as a group. You know what I mean? Yeah, because but then Oscar wouldn't do well in wherever. Because he would have to be somewhere else in order for that group to really excel, because Oscar's going to try to distract the rest of the group because he doesn't want to do it. Yeah. You know, and that group is the type of group that will actually help him, but at the expense of themselves. And that's a concern, because it's like, if they try to teach him how to do this, they're not getting any of their other work done, because Oscar's like, I don't get it. And they've showed him like 4 times and he's like, I don't get it. Yeah. And it's not because he doesn't get it, but he didn't even bother to actually listen and look at what they were pointing at. Yeah, I found it interesting that was his like go-to, like, for everything. Even I think like one time he stood up to like go get his notebook or something, and one of his friends was like, where are you going? And he was like, I don't get it. And then he's like, what do you mean? So I don't know if that's just like, I don't know, like, I don't know if that's partly for the pure attention or just to like avoid doing it, but yeah, I can't figure it out with him. Yeah, because even when the friends were like, how do you not get it? Like, then he felt like, it seemed like he got kind of like shy about it, or he like didn't want to explain why he didn't get it. So I don't know. I don't really understand like why he's saying that to or why that's like his only response, you know? I mean, it's interesting because like Adrian says the same thing that he says. And the minute, I don't know if you caught it, but Adrian said to him, like, afterwards, because he was like, I was like, Adrian said he didn't know, Oscar said he didn't know, but look, you guys clearly know. Yeah. And so they're like, yeah, da-da-da. And I don't know if he's listening to
have to say in their response that they get things like, I don't know. It's just with Oscar, I can't pinpoint what it is that he needs. I mean, I will check. I'll pay attention to those ratios, and I'll tell Ms. Sinso about what you just said about the ratios to make sure that we try to interact with the rest of those kids as well. I think that's really good feedback.
Or maybe like, because I know since it was group, like maybe calling on different people for each step of the question. Because I know I do that in my small groups, and it seems to help. And like, especially if they're off task, I'll usually call on them and be like, okay, what's our next step? And to try to like get them in. So yeah, I think maybe they would all benefit from that. Maybe help the group cohesiveness a little bit.
I can do that. It's just that when it gets to Oscar takes way too long.
To answer.
And he wastes all the learning time that the other kids are, because the other kids clearly saw which was a congruent side. Like that was like a basic stuff. And every kid in that table knew that. So I'm wasting like a good 2 minutes on Oscar, you know, just to have him just say it. It's like, like I know it's beneficial because he needs it, but then I just wasted like this much time with these 3 kids who could be pushed a little further.
So do you think if like at that point where he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, do you think if you were like, can someone help Oscar? Do you think that, and then have another student answer? Do you think that would be?
They've done that. So that's what I think that happened in the group. Anthony was telling him, like I asked him and I waited, and then Anthony was like, hey, it's like here. And he still was like, you know, and the thing is, it's not like he doesn't listen to them. He's just not trying to understand it. So, but then when Anthony filled him up with like enough information and he actually was listening, he goes, oh, it's these 2 lines. And I said, okay. And then that was when he understood it. So we don't mind that the other students help him or tell him stuff. The problem is that he doesn't always take it. So it's just a matter, like I said, it's very, I don't have the data, but just from my observation and watching him, I can't find a systematic, I guess, way, because I'm usually pretty good about determining what the kid wants, like in terms of like if it's attention or it's to
like escaping.
Escaping the work. With him, it's got to be one of those two. And so, but it's not always the same based on days, based on attitude. I mean, it's even based on content. Like I feel like sometimes if he just wants to listen, he at least takes it in. And he'll participate. He may not write anything down on his paper, which is fine, but he at least like is aware of what's going on in class versus he's just been checked out for the last couple of days and he's been in this mood where either one, he's really sleepy, like his eyes are like super puffy and he's just like, I mean, Sinso and I have discussed the fact that maybe he is stoned coming into class, but I don't see the red eyes and I don't smell anything on him, so
you think it's just like stuff happened at home and he didn't
I know that he's a smoker.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know if he's dumb enough to do it at school. Unless he wants to get caught. Because the last time we spoke, when I made the DCFS report, they had asked him and I asked him and he's very honest and he's a pretty honest kid. Like he won't lie to me. Like he has no reason to, and I don't think he fears anyone either. So he was just like, yeah, I smoke weed. And I said, do you have any on you? And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, I don't do it at school, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. And he's like, how often do you do it? And he's like, I'm not going to lie, miss, like weekly, because he's dealing with his stuff outside. And I said, I get it. I said, okay. So I don't know if he's been coming in high because he's like super sleepy and just, but I mean, that's kind of his personality too. So it's kind of hard to like determine like, is he on drugs? Because you know how he plays like, like that's kind of his personality. So I don't know if that is the problem, because if it is, then that's a whole
Have you ever
issue.
Well, I'm sure you've talked to him about it, but has there ever been like a conversation like what will motivate you in this class or what will help you to do the work? Like what can I change to?
We've asked him that. I said, Oscar,
does he?
I don't know. I guess. Like that's his response. He's not, I don't even think he's motivated. Like there's times when Miss Sinso and I will just draw it for him and say, hey, can you just do this part? And
Or
there's
like,
days he will, and then there's days he won't.
I know you said if they finished the problem, they didn't have homework for the night. Is
that
that
was
like
a joke?
Oh, okay. I was
We
like, is that a normal
didn't
thing?
create homework that night.
Oh, that's so funny.
So that's why I was like messing with him. So that's
Okay.
why I don't know if you noticed Adrian. Adrian was like, we weren't gonna have homework anyways. I was like, Adrian, you're so smart.
That's so funny.
And I said that to him, and he started laughing.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was gonna say like that seems like a good reinforcement for him, but
It is.
yeah.
But it was a good reinforcement for a lot of the kids,
Yeah.
just so I could shout out their names, and they were like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was so silly. It's just,
Yeah.
it's like the dumbest thing, but they
love
really-
it. Yeah.
They love it. Yeah. Like, did I get it right?
Yeah.
Did I get it right? I was like, yes. So I was just shouting out their names
Mm-hmm.
randomly. But yeah,
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. So when they do have homework, does he have like his notes or like a checklist? Like this is how you solve them, or?
So some of his homework is just like, so 3 days so we have Tuesday, Thursday is the only day that we have homework that's actually curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they have to solve an actual problem.
Okay.
Monday, Wednesday homework is reflection logs. So we have a very specific guided question that they have to answer about the lesson that day.
Oh, okay.
So it's like it's review your notes. Like it's very specific. Like find a mistake that could occur in problem blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Like those type of questions.
Okay.
So they're thinking questions. They're just more of a reflection type.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday and Thursday are the only days that it's
Yeah.
actual like problems, and they're very short. There's only like 2 problems. They're never like crazy long, and then there's no homework on Friday. So Oscar usually does his reflection stuff, and he does do them, and he does show that he wants to be here, because after yesterday, at the end of the day, I was like, Oscar, he's like, I'll be here on Tuesday for tutoring. I said, okay, see you later. Like, he knows that we're asking him, and I think he's aware of it, and he knows that we want to help him.
Yeah.
It's just he's just gotta figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess maybe just in the meantime, like keeping that consistent environment here since it's so crazy at home. But yeah, just with the positives, and hopefully that makes him try more, but yeah.
Like I said, it just depends on the day.
Yeah.
And then also the group too. So
Yeah.
like yesterday they were really rambunctious the whole 6th period.
Yeah.
And they're usually not like that. I mean, occasionally we get it, but usually we have them we have 2 small groups going, and then 1 larger group moving around, or we have 1 small group and then the larger group. And so that's how it typically is, and they're usually pretty like mellow and focused. So I don't know what happened yesterday.
But yeah, it seems like you have tried moving him to different places.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you think this is the best group right now that you've had?
I think alternative is the best group for him. Yeah, it has
Yeah.
to be the smallest group.
Yeah.
It's got to be with peers who are similar into his intellect, because I think if they're too high, he might feel like he doesn't belong.
Yeah.
Or he's like,
Or
well,
give up
they're gonna think
easier.
I'm
Yeah.
stupid, So moving him there.
Yeah.
And we could try it again to see if it's like the consistency of having the same group might work, because then he'll
Yeah.
realize like the other kids are going to get on task, and they're going to tell him,
That's true,
basically,
yeah.
be quiet, Oscar.
Yeah.
We're writing this down, or we're trying to figure this out ourselves.
Yeah, that's a
So-
good idea, because then it's like he gets used to it, and he's like not this new person who can try to make everyone laugh or like get it like distract them. So yeah, that might be a good idea.
And the thing is, it's hard because with Oscar, there's got to be a balance. Like, I let the boys off task. Like, I let them talk
Yeah.
and crack jokes to each other, because I know that it's needed. But the problem is that Oscar doesn't know how to come back from it. Whereas the rest of the group, it's like, if I say something, like, they're like, we're back, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But if we laugh, like, I partake in their jokes. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw the girl that was sitting over here. She, like, let go of her bangs.
No, I didn't see
And
that.
Oscar and Anthony were like, you look all grudgy. And I was like, Christina, stop scaring the boys. And we're like
Yeah.
laughing about it. But
Yeah.
they, they know that we can joke about it. It's just with him, I don't know if he can come back.
Right.
That's the concern
Yeah.
there.
So maybe at that point, maybe try reinforcing the friends who do come back, and then seeing if at that point he's like, oh, everyone else is doing the right thing or doing what Miss Lamoureux wants, and then seeing if that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely try that.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to Miss Insel about it and let her know.
Yeah.
So we'll try that. I mean, I know having the single group with the same teacher does help.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so too.
But it also helps to have Miss Sinso swap in because Miss Sinso is actually very much a special ed teacher
Okay.
in style.
Yeah.
That it's like, actually, in some ways, she's visually a lot better than I am in explanation
Okay.
and in writing. So she's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Do you
it
think
confuses them.
that you guys have like the same type of expectations or like teaching style, like where it's like consistent for them if you guys
Yes,
switch off?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Sinso is not overly strict
Mhm.
either, like with the kids, and I'm not overly strict.
Yeah.
Like it depends on the situation.
Mhm.
I haven't seen too many kids that get confused. I mean, our behavior management is pretty good.
No, yeah, that's
So
what I was
if-
telling Eric. Like the
okay.
classroom management seems really well.
Because if we had I think if we were confusing, there would be a lot more behaviors. I
Yeah.
think because the kids know what the expectation is.
Mhm.
They also are very well aware of like what is okay with some kids
Mhm.
and what is okay with other kids.
Right.
Particularly sixth period understands that well because we have the two boys in the back. One has autism and one
Mhm.
has ED, and they're in this whole realm of
Mhm.
themselves. And so we had a lot of quirky kids in sixth
Right.
period. So I think
I did
for
notice
them-
that. I've worked with some of them. I
Yeah.
just interviewed Omar today.
Yeah, so
yeah.
you know Omar. So they're like
Yeah.
they're really quirky and
Yeah.
they've all got their little personalities. But I guess the commonality is the kids do understand that one, we do respect the kids. Two,
Mhm.
we're here to support them no matter what,
Yeah.
like whatever they want. Like Christina, the student in front of me, was completely off, but she tried to somewhat pay attention, but she wasn't doing very much.
Yeah.
And she's also another student that's very similar to Oscar in that
Mhm.
mentality except she's not a behavior about it. Like she'll just sit and just not
And like
do
not
anything.
do anything. Yeah.
She won't talk or she won't be the way Oscar is.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay.
Yeah. She was the one. She was also in the same group.
Yes, she was
Okay.
the only girl that was in the
Oh,
corner.
got it. Okay.
She's pretty good too, but again, she's been off. She's very much like him, a girl version, but without the behaviors.
Mhm.
So she'll just more like quiet.
Yeah.
And she'll just sit there.
Do you think that group also helps her, like with everyone participating? Does that seem to help her, or not really?
Nah. Well, with Christina, it's interesting because we've tried different things and she was doing really well for a while. Like,
Mhm.
we really worked hard with her and told her, like, hey, Christina, all you have to do is come in and try these. And she was getting a lot of positive reinforcement and it was working. And then suddenly she was absent a lot. And I think, so that seems to throw off those kids, like
Yeah.
Oscar and Christina, because
Mhm.
they're absent or they're ditching because I know she's ditching.
Mhm.
Because she's told me, and I was like, well, what are you, like, how are you going to be great? Like, since when I gave you an option, like, we tried helping you, and she's like,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
just, like,
it's like
doesn't
Oscar's
matter.
the
Yeah.
same way, like, whatever. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, we can only do so much.
Yeah.
So we're trying,
Mhm.
we're guiding you through it. We're not giving up on you, but
You need to
it
put
is-
in a little bit of effort.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it is towards the end of the year that Miss Sinso and I are running out of
Mhm.
steam.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of it
Yeah.
too. Like I tell them, I'm like, look, you're not the only ones tired. So
Mhm.
are we. So if you're at this point, if you're a lost cause at this point, I mean, we're gonna do the minimum we need to make sure that you are getting served, like you're getting help, you're getting
Yeah.
questions, we're asking you, we're supporting you. But that's it. I'm not gonna go above and beyond
Yeah.
at this point when there are other kids that really need the support because next year they're going integrated 2 and the chances of you going integrated 2 might be kind of low unless you decide that you want to pull it together.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, he also has started the 7th period and I don't know if that's something that's impacting Oscar's ability
Oh.
to do stuff.
Mhm.
Did you know that he's in the Restart program?
No, I didn't even know there was a 7th period.
Yeah, so he just recently, and it's only been changing in the last 2 weeks, he's in a 7th period math class
Okay.
to make up first
Oh, I think I
semester.
did see that on his schedule.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why his grades kind of were funky when you were looking at them because
Mhm.
he didn't have a grade for certain ones because they swapped him into that new class.
Okay.
So I don't know if,
So that's with a different teacher, not
yeah,
with you
it's
guys.
a different
Okay.
math teacher. And he says he's doing well in there, which I think he should be. I think he's okay. Because content, I mean, he's not a low kid, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of understanding. He's pretty high. It's just a matter of him doing
it. Yeah.
So I don't know if the Restart class has affected him, where it's just like he's tired because maybe his
It's like-
day is
yeah.
really long now, and then he goes from there and he comes to tutoring with us to try to catch up on the work that he's missed. So he could be a little bit overwhelmed overall and just shutting down because he doesn't know how to handle all the stuff. I do know that Miss Richard was supposed to have a meeting with his mom to discuss counseling, but mom said that she found counseling elsewhere and canceled. Don't know how much of that is true.
Yeah. Has he told you if he's started?
No, I'm gonna ask him today because I just talked to Lizette today and that's what I found out.
Okay.
So I was gonna be like, hey, did your mom get you counseling? You know, I'm not gonna say that his mom said.
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, like, did you? Because if she did, that's great. Maybe they did it through the social worker, but if not, I don't know what's going on, or if he moved home.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe.
Oh, so he wasn't living at home. Yeah.
So since the incident, he was living there, but he did. I remember him telling me that he was gonna go back at some point. So I don't know if he's back and if that's the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that it's probably is not even school related. Like, we could do everything, and he still might not respond because of whatever it is that he's dealing with at home.
Yeah.
So hoping the counseling services do
Yeah.
get in there.
So I was looking at his schedule and at his grades, and I noticed he has an A in one of his classes.
Which class was that?
Let me double check, because I wanted to go observe him today, but we had to go do an intervention group. I know in health he has a B minus.
Who's the teacher?
And Salazar. I was gonna go observe him in that one, but they were watching a movie, so I figured it wouldn't be too much information.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
I think it's. Wait, in integrated math 1. Second period?
Why do you have a second period?
He has. Yeah, in his integrated math 1 with Trejo, he has an A in that class.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I have